Good morning, everybody. It's already 107 degrees in Austin, Texas. If you don't know me, my name is Jack Burton, and this is my smoking hot wife, Maya Burton. Can I say that at church? And we are long time old school ANC people, but we moved away to Spain, and we happen to be back visiting, and for whatever reason, these guys let us come play music again. So welcome this morning. We're glad to see all of your beautiful faces. I see new faces. I see faces that are not old, but that I remember. And welcome to all you digital people. Where are they? They're here. Digital, you people that are online in the metaverse with your avatars that have joined us for church. Let's have a good time this morning. Let's worship. Let's enjoy ourselves, because church should be enjoyable. Learn this with us. Let me tell you. Like a ship that's tossed and driven, battered by an angry sea. When the storms of life are raging and the fury falls on me. When I look, hey, and I wonder why, oh, good fortune seemed to pass me by. Well, then I say to my soul, don't worry, the Lord will make a way somehow. Now we're going to sing the chorus together, all right? Y'all going to learn it. The Lord will make a way. The Lord will make a way somehow. When beneath the cross I bow, He will take away your sorrow. Let Him have your burdens now. When the Lord bears down so heavy, the weight is shown upon my brow. There's a sweet relief in knowing, oh yeah, the Lord will make a way somehow. All right, here comes the second verse. Well, I try to do my best in service. I try to live the best that I can. When I seem to do the right thing, He was present on every hand. Many nights I wandered, tossed in much pain, wondering why, what the day will bring. Well, but then I say to my soul, don't worry, the Lord will make a way somehow. All right, y'all with us? The Lord will make a way. The Lord will make a way somehow. Oh, when beneath the cross I bow, oh, He will take away your sorrow. Well, let Him have your burdens now. When the Lord bears down so heavy, oh, the weight is shown up smile on your face.
He'll make a way.
All you gotta do is trust Him.
He'll make a way.
All you gotta do is trust
He'll
Him.
make a way.
He'll make a way.
He'll make a way.
That's good. That's good. Keep it going. Come on, y'all.
He'll make
Tell your
a
neighbor.
way.
Oh, I'm so glad.
He'll make a way.
I know Him for myself.
He'll make a way.
I know my Lord.
He'll make
is
a
my
way.
ever-present help.
He'll make a way.
I will rejoice.
He'll make a
and pray
way.
continually.
He'll make a way.
I know all the things.
He'll make
that
a
the Lord.
way.
Let's take it back to the chorus, y'all. Come on.
He'll make a way.
The Lord will make a way somehow. Very nice.
When they meet the cross,
I bow. Put some soul into it, people. Go on. He will take away the sorrow. Let Him have your burden now. When the load is down, so heavy, weight is so upon my brow. Ain't it a relief? There's a sweet relief in knowing the Lord will make a way somehow. Oh, He'll make a way. Doesn't that feel good this morning? Come on, church, put a smile on your face. He'll make a way.
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 He'll make a
Oh,
way.
yeah. Amen to that. That feels pretty good, right? We got to do it now before it gets hotter, and then you'd really be sweating. My heart is yours completely. Heart is yours only. You love with no reservation. You're not looking for perfection. There's no need in me pretending. I'll give you everything, give you everything. You deserve my full attention. Nothing less than my devotion. Speak to me and I will listen. I'll give you everything. I'll give you everything. Sing, oh, oh, oh. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Sing, oh, 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 oh. You can have my heart. You can have my
selfish motives. Search me till there's nothing hidden. And I'll give you everything. I'll give you everything. Oh, 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 oh. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Sing, oh, 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 oh. You can have my heart.
does that mean this morning? You can have my heart. That's a big church kind of word talk to me. But like, what is it that we're giving? What are we receiving? If he's God, he already has it all. So think about those words as you sing it. My heart is yours forever. My heart is yours forever. My heart is yours forever. You can have it all. My heart is yours forever. I want to give it to you. My heart is yours forever. You know I'm trying to hold on to it though. But my heart is yours forever. You know I get distracted now. But my heart is yours forever. If you want my heart, it's yours forever. You can have it all. My heart is yours forever. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. If you want my yes, you got it. You got it. If you want my all, you got it. If you want my heart, you got it. Just give him what you need to give him. Yeah, yeah. If you want my yes, you got it. You got it. If you want my all, Lord. If you want my all, you got it. I give it to you freely, Lord. Yeah. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. You got it. If you want my yes, you got it. Whoa. Whoa. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Come on, church, lift your voices. Sing, oh, there's something about singing it out. Oh, oh, just say it out loud. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. Tell it. Sing with your breath. Whoa, sing with your spirit, with your guts. Whoa, you can have my heart. You can have it all. You can have it all. If you want my all, you got it. You can have my heart. You can have my heart. 'Cause my heart is yours forever. No matter what I do, you love me forever. My heart is yours forever and consume. Every heart is yours forever. All belongs to you. You got it. All belongs to you. Amen. Forever, you got it. All belongs to you. All belongs to you. Open our hearts this morning, God. Open what it is in us. Let us feel that thing that needs you. Heart is yours forever. Let us connect to the love that you show for us every day, God. Heart is yours forever. Whether it's hot or cold, raining, snowing, beautiful days, all the beauty that you show us, everything you've built and made for us, let us connect to it today. Heart is yours forever. Heart is yours forever. You're struggling this morning. You had a terrible week. Loss in your family, loss of life. Maybe you got terrible health news. There's just a loving comforter who wants to grab you in his arms. Just tell you he loves you. He wants to tell you that through other people around you. Be open to accept the love and support and hugs from people you don't even know. Thank you, Lord.
Hold on, don't sit down yet. Don't sit down. Because you got to greet somebody, right?
Nope,
Trey?
nope, you're
Oh,
wrong.
my gosh. I'm
Wrong.
That would be uncomfortable.
I'm
Don't do
sorry.
that.
You're
I'm just a bass
canceled.
player.
You're canceled, Lamar. Sorry. Dang it. Hate it when that happens. Good morning, everybody. Hi, I'm Trey. Huh? It's good. It's good. Thank you, sir. Welcome to Austin New Church. I'm with Jack. See a lot of faces I know. Some old faces. Not really. But some folks I don't. So anyway, if that's you, if we don't know each other yet, find me after service and let's just say hi. I'd love to get to know you, hear your story. Couldn't do that in the foyer probably, but we could set something up. But anyway, I went and saw Oppenheimer last night. Anybody else? Right? It was good, right? Y'all, what's crazy about it is big opening weekend of movies. Oppenheimer and Barbie, right? I was freaked out by all the pink ladies coming out of the theater. Middle-aged women in high heels and pink stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, Barbie, I get it. Anyway, but it was fun. It was a good movie. I didn't see the Barbie one, but I understand that was good as well. Catherine did a great job last week. Love that. Thank you. Woo! Told her not to, last week before she went up here, I said, hey, don't be awesome because I have to teach next week. And she was anyway, so... But anyway, thank you. It was good. It was a good time. But one of the things she taught about was our values as a church and how we make those things and those values a reality by our actions. And it brought to mind this passage that I'm going to reference today. It's not on the slides, so don't worry. But it's the one from James. It says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but does not have works? Surely that faith cannot save, can it? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. So we can't simply say that we are for helping the marginalized people without getting involved. We can't say that we're pro-immigrant without lifting fingers when we are confronted with injustice towards immigrants. And we can't love our LGBTQ siblings without welcoming, affirming them. Any church that does and says that they welcome all without being willing to have them teach or lead or marry them in that church doesn't welcome them at all. They're tolerating, they're tricking, they're bait and switching, they're doing all the things. And so we're not that church, okay? Hear me in that. We're being a justice-oriented, Christ-centered church certainly comes with more responsibilities as we continue to figure out ways to engage our community. If justice issues and the like of helping others excites you, makes your heart beat fast, please plan on joining Stephanie and Melinda, right? After service today in the conference room, we're having what we're calling what are we calling it? Community engagement. There we go. Community engagement team meeting today after church. That just reminds me. I didn't do the announcements, did I?
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, but you threw me by saying we're going to greet each other. But anyway, I'm gonna. You know what? It's not your fault, Lamar. It's not your fault. I'm going to take a brief break in just a second, and we'll go to that. But how about right now? Community engagement meeting right after service. I never do the whole thing by myself, y'all. I'm just the announcement guy. So if you just have that lane to run in, all you got to do is announcements. You don't have to teach that week. Then it's pretty easy to do that. But when you got both, it could be screwy like it is this morning. So anyway, welcome to Austin New Church. A couple of quick things I will tell you about announcement-wise. Did I even give me my announcement page? I just forgot all about it. It's fine. It's fine. That's my lovely wife, Jenny. Jack, you're canceled too for what do you call it when you anyway? When you objectify women, call your wife smoking hot, you can't do that apparently in church. But mine's smoking hot too. So she brought her A game this morning with the announcements. Anyway, Santa Rita backpacks. We have this QR code going. Santa Rita is one of the oldest housing communities in the nation. They're right here in Austin. Jack, you just walk back in the room. You're canceled. Just kidding. And they are one of the oldest housing communities in the nation, and they have 300 kids, I think. 300 kids, Stephanie? 200? 100. 40 kids. They have 6 kids. They have 100. They have 110 kids we need backpacks for that we've promised Miss Lupe. We'll get you backpacks. And so we're off to a good start, medium start. We're off to a bad start. So we need your help in that. If that's something you can either donate to or drop off a backpack, there's a box in the foyer out there with 3 backpacks. I stand corrected. I'm okay with that. So help us with that. Come next week with a backpack or donate a little something so we can get backpacks, okay? And we'll get those to Miss Lupe. Told you about community engagement. Here's something else I want to ask you for. And I'm specifically looking, and this is going to get me canceled. I just feel it already. I feel your oppression. I need some men who will help me tear down 2 sheds here. Girls, you don't want to do this anyway. But we got 2 sawzalls, and I need some dudes early next Saturday before it gets really hot to cut up and chop down and throw in dumpsters 2 sheds that we have behind the property here that have just fallen into disrepair, and we got school starting back, which means we've got aftercare starting, and it's just become a problem for us. So we have some inside things that we can do as well, but if you're interested in that, see me, email me after service, cancel me via your email, just write trey@austennewchurch.com, and I'd love to have you help in that. We're not going to do turn and greet. Just everybody wave to those around you right now, and we'll get that over with. Hi, everybody. Sorry, y'all. Online people, I'm sorry. I blew it this morning. You'll have virtual foyer after service today. I'm just cramming it all into, anyway, picking up where I left off unceremoniously. Anyway, you cannot be a church that believes in a gospel that saves and sets captives free and proclaims good news, yet stifle more than half the voices in the room. Can you? Can you? Yeah, a lot of people do. I can't imagine not having the voice of Catherine last week, or Sam, who comes in occasionally to teach, or Melinda, who taught a few weeks ago. I can't imagine stifling those voices in this space. And we're not doing it all correctly. I say that all the time. And again, I get canceled, so it's fine. But we don't do it all correctly all the time. I was gently and graciously reminded last week by someone with a non-binary kid when they let me know that when I say guys and girls or men and women or husbands and wives or whatever, it's like, okay, well, you're missing a sub, and I get that. Okay, I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'm working on my language. I received it, and anyway. Most likely in a community like ours, leading with grace, as we learn language, as we learn how to love, as we try to de-unlearn some old things in our brains that we've been conditioned for our whole lives. This inclusive nature of the gospel and of Jesus, we must give people the benefit of the doubt. Give them the opportunities we'd want to have if we needed them afforded to us, which I do a lot. Anyway, it's a journey. This whole thing with Christ is a journey. And just give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time, and we'll find yourself okay. I'll apologize a little bit up front here today because I am admittedly old school. I never thought I'd have to say that, but now I'm old school. I'm old school. I'm Southern Baptist by background. That's the stuff, like I said, that's rattling around this brain of mine. And I'm constantly breaking down the narratives that I've lived for decades. I've just lived them for decades. And they still rattle around. I don't have the educational pedigree that Jason has. And I don't have that calming, smooth delivery that Catherine had last week. This comes with a velvet hammer. I don't have that. So you'll have to forgive me in that. But bear with me this week, and I hope to share a story with both old and new storyline. The same story you guys have probably heard if you grew up in church like I did, with maybe some new implications. And hopefully I'll be brief after I've screwed up this whole thing leading up to it. But when I think about Where To Next is our sermon series that Jason's been leading us on. Where To Next is our church. I think of a couple of things that helps Jenny and I determine where to next in our own lives. And basically it's desire and budget. Where do we want to go, and what can we afford to go there? Where do we want to go, and can we afford to go there? And a lot of times those don't align, but I think with enough time, in the world we live in today, with enough time and saving and all that stuff, we can go pretty much anywhere we want to. 10 years ago, actually it's been like 12 years ago, 11 years ago, Jenny and I went to East Africa, and I flew Ethiopian Airlines, a 23-hour flight from Dulles to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And on the way back, it was a 30-hour flight because we refueled in Rome, but we weren't allowed to get out of our seats or off the plane. So I made that trip as a 300-pound man. I know I'm a lot skinnier than that now, not really. But I made that trip in coach with no extra leg room and a just tiny little seat. And I almost killed me, I think. And not even an exit aisle, sometimes. But anyway, I said then, and I stand by it now, I'm never willing to go another place like that again that's 20 hours. I don't want to go anywhere that's 20 hours, to be honest with you. Even if it's across the ditch, if we go over to Europe or something like that, I don't want to fly in one of those little seats. For me, it's survival, okay? I know a lot of you guys can pull your feet up in your little coach seat and you're fine and it's all good. Me, I need it all. I need space. I need leg room. Anyway, girth room. But that limits us then on where we can go, how often we can go, and it determines on what we can afford, right? So, those tickets aren't cheap. So I decided with no guardrails this week, literally, meaning Jason isn't here, to deviate from Acts, which is where we've been teaching and reading in the last several weeks, and go back into the Gospels and check in with Jesus, okay? Y'all good with that? We'll check in with Jesus and his disciples, and they find themselves in a similar predicament as they try to determine where they're going to go after Jesus has run out of his hometown, according to the book of Matthew. Jesus was rejected in his hometown, and at this point in Jesus' ministry, he's gathering quite large crowds. A lot of people are following him, and anywhere they go, they gather a large crowd. And this must have been what they were facing here. As we read about this account that is represented in all four Gospels, but it's the one about feeding the 5,000. You heard of that story? Okay, we'll follow along. We're going to read it out of the book of John, okay? It's on the screen. After this, Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up to the mountain and sat down there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the festival of the Jews, was near, and when Jesus looked up, he saw a large crowd coming toward him. Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we going to buy bread for these people to eat?" He said this to test him, for he knew what he was going to do. Philip answered, 200 denarii would not buy enough bread for each of them to have a little. One of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "Well, there's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they among so many people?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, so they sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were satisfied, he told the disciples, "Gather up the fragments left over, so that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up, and the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, from the fragments of 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten, they filled 12 baskets. So, very familiar story. Jesus feeding 5,000, obviously a great miracle. If you grew up in church like I did, you know the story well. The story's iconic, an iconic one that one of our local partners is named after. Mobile Loaves and Fishes, you've heard of them? They drive the food trucks around and feed the homeless community. They were one of our original partners, and we were, as we started serving in the margins, somebody said, "You've got to meet this Alan Graham guy," who introduced us to his ministry, Mobile Loaves and Fishes, who now has expanded to Community First, which, boy, I tell you what. You know this is coming, babe. Okay. Anyway, Mobile Loaves and Fish is one of our local partners. We love them to death. We trust them because we've seen them in action for years. We know that they're doing the best with what they have. The Heights, the Harrises, they're both involved with Community First as missionals out there. They live on site and serve the formerly homeless men and women who live out there at Community First. And so if you're not familiar with that, you need to be familiar with it. It's a great ministry. And if you ever give to Austin New Church, you're giving to the ministry of mobile loaves and fishes because we always have and always will give a portion of what we receive to mobile loaves. So, in the story, Jesus asked Philip, what are we going to do? All these people are here, and we need to feed them something, and there's no food trucks, right? There's no food trucks out here. And Philip says to Jesus, I don't know what we can do. Even 200 denarii wouldn't afford enough for everyone to have a little bread. So I don't know why Philip chose 200 denarii. I don't know whether it was a number out of off the top of his head, or if this was something that he knew they had in the coffers, or what. But 200 denarii, if we were to take that into today's money, I think they said 1 denarii equaled a day's wage. And if we were to extrapolate that out to, say, a $50,000 salary, 200 denarii would equal about $40,000. So it was a large sum of money, obviously a large group of people, and that's what they were saying. So if we keep in mind that they were feeding 5,000, keep in mind that they're talking about men numbers. They typically didn't count women and children, but we know there was children in this group because one of the disciples said, there's this young boy, he's got 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes. So we know they're among them. But the story goes, Jesus asked everyone to sit down. He gave thanks for the bread and the fish, and he started to have the disciples distribute it. And once the distribution began, it didn't end until everybody had what they needed and more. Everybody had their fill, enough to collect 12 baskets of leftovers. Now, I've always believed, again, go back to my old school brain, my old school Southern Baptist roots, pretty much a literal reading of this, that Jesus' miracle in this instance was a crazy material multiplication of the food that was before them, that the young boy gave. And we're free to believe that. That's a miracle, all right? If that's what you believe, great. But I'm going to suggest that maybe that wasn't the miracle, that maybe there was another miracle going on here today, that what if it was more complex and, dare I say, even more beautiful than that? What if the miracle that was actually happening was the people gathered that day saw the young boy willing to give up what little he had, and it released their own generosity? That too would be a miracle, right? If seeing a young boy's actions, giving up his lunch that he had, just released everybody else to be free to give what they had as well, that they were hoarding for themselves, for their own sustenance. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was bad, but they were holding it back for their own well-being. But seeing the little boy's action, like Catherine talked about last week, caused their own action then to give as well. Don Smith, I was talking with he and Jason last week, and he said something that I truly believe. Don, as you know, is not with us this week, but he is a former UMC pastor, and he and his wife Amy have been at ANC for several years. And he currently works helping churches raise funds mainly for new church building campaigns. That's what he does. Anyway, Don said, generosity is grounded in gratitude. Generosity is grounded in gratitude. Gratitude for what we have, for the favor we found, for the church that we have, or our own economic situation, our community, our health, our lives, God's grace, and the list could go on and on and on. Some of us don't think about all that we have. I know I'm rarely grateful. I take a lot of things for granted. And if we're short in gratitude, my guess is that we'd be short or lacking in generosity. So I asked this week, I had just the opportunity to think about what I was going to teach on, and that's it, is seeing this young boy's generosity permeate a group of 5,000 people who all then chipped in, and then they had enough for everybody to go away full and have leftovers. So I was thinking about that, and so I emailed some people in the church that I knew participated in generosity with the church. And I got some responses, and I want to share these as if I'm sharing the little boy with you, okay? Think about that. Think about I'm sharing this little boy with you. Somebody wrote this. Selfishly, it feels good to give, to be a part of something bigger than just myself. I feel like God blessed me and provides me all I need. It's also an investment in the future so that someone else may be able to benefit from a community like ours. If you are giving, you'll never go broke. I like that. Somebody else wrote, We searched for a Jesus-led church home with a fully open table and found ANC. Giving financially is our way of making sure ANC flourishes for others to find. Third person wrote this. I give to ANC because I think the community I have found here has really changed my life for the better. I know the more we give, the more opportunities the church will have to foster community. Somebody else wrote, for us, it's kind of simple. We give because we believe in the local church community, that it provides something for those that need a community of faith, and also that this community is active in the greater community outside of itself. This one's interesting. The main reason we give is a strong belief in the destructive power of money and a control in our lives. Times we've hoarded too much or spent too much, we feel more discontentment, jealousy, and inadequacy. As with all things, Jesus' teaching is truly the pathway to living the healthiest and happiest life. His clear and repeated instruction on money feels like instruction on how to keep from falling victim to its power. Somebody else wrote, I got 8 of these, y'all, and they're all gold. Number 6 is this. I'm growing in my capacity to love all and embrace all. Were it not for my time at ANC over the past 5+ years, I believe I would be in a very different place. And there's so much more growth in the days, months, and years to come. I'm so grateful to God for ANC. Here's an online ANCer. I give because ANC was an answer to prayer. My son had given up on God's people. He still loved God, and he thought God's people were all like the Christians that had rejected him. I give because I love this group of people and pastors who welcomed my greatest gift and restored his faith in some of God's people. ANC also gives us a safe place to worship, learn, and question at the same time. And then the last one is this. It has been an easy decision for us to give to this church, for our gay son to have found a church family that accepts all of who God created him to be has been an invaluable gift, a lighthouse. The church has also helped me as I take a new look at so many of the teachings I blindly believed growing up in the conservative South, and has made me feel safe in my doubting and my reconsidering. The humble approach taken towards Scripture is compelling, comforting, and refreshing. I don't want to envision a future without ANC, a safe space practicing radical love. And I want to use that as our trademark, a safe place practicing radical love. I'd like to put that on our website. You hear the gratitude in those answers? You see how that works? People that just came to mind that I thought would answer. Every one of them answered. Anybody that I emailed or called answered. They wanted to share why they thought generosity was important. Some folks have picked up on one thing over the past few weeks that we're starting to ask people to consider their generosity. We're asking you to be a part of the miracle of multiplication here. We're asking you to join the young boy who only brings a meager lunch because we have to do something unbelievable. We have to feed 5,000. The miracle is only going to happen, as Catherine told us last week, through our actions, our willingness to be a part of something bigger, our gratitude for a church that loves God and loves all people. Trust me, I love these stories. I love all of them, but not because they feed egos or pump us up or whatever, but they're answers to prayer. I can see these are actual answers to prayer, that without a church like ANC, many of us would have walked away from church, from faith, and possibly turned our backs on God. These are why these stories are so critical to celebrate from time to time. I too don't want to envision a future without ANC. But here's the reality. Churches either survive or they thrive. We're in a position that we've never been in before. Pre-COVID, I would say we were in a thriving mode. 2 full services, stressing about going to 3. We were really considering, what the heck are we going to do? We have to go to 3 services. And resources weren't an issue. Post-COVID, we're comfortable in this room. But when it's come time to pay for a new air conditioner in the community center, and now I found out this morning the one in the kids' nursery, I'm like super stressed. I'm like, holy cow, we've got Earth Kids coming back in 3 weeks, and AA that meets Tuesday night, and all these things. Plus, we have a part-time position we know we need as a church. and you're confronted with, okay, well, how do we do all that? How do we do all that? We're weighing our options. I think our board and our staff is being good stewards of that. But I'm just telling you today, this is something that we're thinking about. We're having to weigh, air conditioner versus staffing. I don't want that to be the case. I'm thinking about it though. As you know, and I mentioned occasionally, we don't take an offering during service. And we've gone back and forth on this over time. Having a plate or bag passed in front of you sometimes causes a little bit of discomfort, and then you dig in your pocket and put a few dollars in, and that's one thing, okay? But that's never been the ANC. We don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. We don't want to guilt you into something. We want you to share out of an overabundance of what's going on in your life or the life of someone you love, okay? And I love this. This happens online too. This happens for people that don't go to this church, that have never set foot in this building and may never. But they've heard about us from one reason or another. And I'm going to tell you, it's mostly because of our relationship with and our loving of the LGBTQ community. It just is. That's the reason why, well, I'll back up. In 2016, that's why a lot of people left this church, but it's also why a lot of people are finding this church. And so we don't take that for granted. We love that community, and it's who we are, and there's no going back for us. But when COVID came, I'll go back to when COVID came, we're passing the baskets, we quit. We changed the way we did offering. We changed the way we did communion from a broken piece of bread, dipping it in juice. No, just get your own little plastic cup and peel the thing out. We're going to do communion that way from now on. But it doesn't negate the fact that we ask you to participate with us in your generosity. This will probably be the last pure sermon on generosity that you hear for a while. But we're wanting to keep stories alive for those like the ones I shared with you just a minute ago. If that's something that you'd like to share with the group, notice I didn't out anybody. I didn't say who did or how much or how little or whatever they gave. I shared stories equally. But if your story of why you feel generous toward this community, if that's something you'd like to share, email me, Trey@austonnewchurch.com, TRAY@austonnewchurch.com. Share those, text me if you have my number, whatever. Reply to the email I sent out Saturday, which I forgot Friday. Sorry about that, everybody. But if it's something you do, I send those out every week. Reply to that email. Tell me your story. I'd love to share just a little snippet of why you feel generous toward this community. I'm encouraged when we receive outside gifts from time to time from people who recognize that Austin needs a church like ANC. They don't want to see a community like ours be without. But also I recognize everyone in this room who is a part of ANC in some manner today, who gives generously to the body. You're paying it forward. You're providing a gift that's years in the future, ANC will exist to meet somebody where they're at. We don't really care where that is. We just want to be that church at some point in the future. Even those who left ANC over inclusion in 2016, we would not be the church we are today had it not been for them. So my appeal to you today would be, if not for you personally today, for those in the future. Because of your gratitude for who ANC is becoming, be generous. The last thing I'm going to say, okay? It's one of two last things I'm going to say. Last thing is this. Back to the verse from James. It says, if a brother or sister is naked and lacks food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? If we do not supply for the bodily needs in our context is ANC. This body of believers. If we wait for someone else to do it, no matter the amount, what good is that? Hopefully you relate to one or more of the stories that I shared from ANCers who consistently and sacrificially share their resources. Because ANC is answered a prayer, because you believe in the mission or vision, because you see a wide open table as a truer reflection of the table Jesus sets, because ANC has changed your life or the life of someone you love for the better, because you can't imagine a world without ANC. Because you believe in this, our expression of the local church. You feel safe at ANC. Or it just feels good to give and you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. These are the heart reasons to give. And like Don told Jason and I last week, generosity is grounded in gratitude. Something to consider. How has God changed your life for the better through ANC? Just think about that. My second lastly, okay? It's my second lastly. I just wonder in this story with the young boy who brought 5 loaves and 2 fishes, was he just naive enough to think that Jesus could do something great with either his example or his food, depending on which miracle you want to believe in? Was he naive enough to believe that him providing just this meager offering, Jesus would be able to do something great with it? Whether the loaves and fishes were physically multiplied or God used his willingness to move in the hearts of those that gathered that day, either way, I'm humbled by his example. Because obviously in God's economy, the size of the response doesn't matter. What matters is the willingness to make his resources available. So, all that to say, after service, I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask the tech team to leave the QR code on the screen for a while. Just as you leave, it's just going to be on the screen. We okay with that? We good? If the answer to, has God changed your life for the better through ANC, if that's a yes, I do believe God is using ANC in a powerful way, not only in my life, but in the lives of others. And hopefully will continue to for years to come. If you don't already, join us with your generosity. I will say that consistent recurring giving always helps us better understand where we are as a church financially and what we can afford. And to those of you making generosity a priority, thank you. We literally couldn't do this without you. So my invitation to you all is let's feed 5,000, okay? Let's pray. God, just thank you for the opportunity to hear from you, to see this little boy's example this week of his response to need. He didn't have much. Shoot, at times I don't have much. But all you're asking for is us to be able to respond with what we do have, with what you've given us. You're the provider of all good things, and we thank you for that. I thank you, and I'm sorry for the times that I'm not more self-aware as to the gifts and stuff you've given me. Thank you, God. Amen.
They don't see me like you see. They don't hear me, but you do. I am broken, I am shattered, and you know, because you're broken too. We are fragile, we are human, wooden boats out on the sea. We want something to hold on to. We need something to believe. There's a power in our weakness. That's how all the light shines through. Can you help me in my darkness? I have nothing
Did I turn it back on? Yes. Yes. Okay, so we're going to close out our time of worship and communion together. And I'm going to do it a little bit differently than Jason normally does it because he's not here, and that's the way I roll. But you'll find at the base of the stained glass windows, all of them, 8 of them, the little packets with the cellophane on top, which you can remove to get the wafer, and then you can peel back the second part to get the juice. And we take communion together every week as a reminder that everyone's welcome at the table. Everyone, even the one that would betray Jesus the night before, or the night that he was betrayed. Jesus welcomed Judas to the table. So I like to think I'm not as bad as Judas, but sometimes I am. So if you will, stand with me. Just as a reminder that Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, he took bread and he broke it. And he said, "This is my body broken for you." And while reclining at the table after supper, he took the cup and raised it up. And he said, "This cup represents a new covenant of my blood. Every time you drink it, every time you eat that bread, every time you drink this cup, remember me." All tables can be sacred. When we go and leave here and we go to lunch with each other, that table can be sacred. All right? So, but we do this as a reminder that everybody in this room, everybody is welcome at this table of Jesus, even the one who'd betray him. Say the Lord's Prayer with me, and then we'll take the elements. Our Father and Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Your love never changes. Oh Lord, you're so patient. And if I run back home, God, you come running, 'cause your love never changes. Lord, you're so gracious. And with a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. With a kiss, yeah, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. Lord, you have found me. I could let you down over and over, but your love never changes. Lord, you're so patient. If I run back home, God, you come running. 'Cause your love never changes. Lord, you're so gracious. With a kiss, with a ring, you have found me. Lord, you have found me. With a kiss, with a kiss, with a ring and a roll, God, you have found me. Lord, you have found me. With a kiss, oh, with a kiss, with a ring and a roll, and your love has found me. the first time. Feels like coming home. Ooh, don't you know it feels like coming
Heart
home.
is yours.
The first time in a long
Heart is
time.
yours.
Feels like coming home.
Heart is yours.
I'm Kathy Armstrong, and the benediction is my favorite part every Sunday. I love it. It's like go out with a blessing. So our benediction today is written by Lauren Blakely, and she writes, "Blisters on my hands tell the story of a lifetime of holding tight to what I had, who I thought I had to be, always fighting the fear that came at the thought of ever letting go. But someone told me that giving never leaves you with less. And isn't it so true that when we give ourselves away over and over again, the most warmth I've ever felt was from the unconditional safety of someone else's embrace, the most understanding through tears given so freely for my pain. We give our most bittersweet goodbyes to those who mean the most, leaving each other a little better, softer than we started, through outstretched hands and soft, I'm here with you. We learn that to give is to grow, and thankfully, sometimes giving is as simple as showing up. This week, generously show up for one another. Go in peace."